Hi everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of NottsPharmCast. And today I'm really pleased to say that we have another guest podcaster with us. I'd like to welcome Hazel Tengku Chik Melewar from the Alzheimer's Society as our guest podcaster today. Hazel is the Community Development Coordinator for the charity, and she's going to be talking to us today about dementia, how community pharmacy can support people with dementia, and all of the great stuff that the charity is working on, and how we can get involved. Obviously, memory issues are becoming more prevalent, and pharmacists may see such issues developing in their patients before anyone else does. So we really want to help support the specialist work of organisations such as the Alzheimer's Society. So I'm going to hand over to Hazel and thank her again. We're also here with Mike Jones, who is our Services Implementation Manager and Pharmacist. So we're just going to have a chat today. So over to you, Hazel, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me to come and speak with you. I particularly wanted to come today to talk about both dementia, but also depression. Mm-hmm. And the link between the two of these illnesses, because there's such a lot, I think, that pharmacists can assist people with on that. Mike asked me a while ago what the link was between depression and dementia. And I think it's fair to say it's pretty complex. We're not actually sure how the two conditions are linked, but we know that they are. And the reason I say it's complex is that, is it a cause or is it a symptom? There is a lot of research being done at the moment around that area. What we are certain of is that depression increases a person's risk of getting dementia. Mm-hmm. And some studies indicate that it possibly doubles the risk of them getting dementia, which is obviously quite a serious concern. Yeah. Now, obviously, just because you get depression does not mean you're going to go on and get dementia. You're just simply increasing your risk of getting it. Mm-hmm. We also don't really understand whether things such as the length of the depression, the severity of the depression, or the age at which somebody experiences depression is going to, what effect that has on their dementia risk. But some studies have shown that where people have depression in earlier life, mm-hmm. then it certainly raises the possibility that they are going to get dementia in the future. Okay. One study actually said it would triple it. It triples the risk of it.
Wow. Okay.
And if they do get it early in life, then they get dementia, they're very likely to get depression as part of their dementia. Mm-hmm. So yes. I think that's quite an interesting one. Where people get to depression later in life, what we're not sure of is this a symptom of the depression or is it the cause of the depression? And that's something that a lot of work is still going on. Yes. And I think the third thing to say about the link between the two of them is that depression in somebody with dementia presents differently. Okay. So, for example, they will be much more agitated if they have it as part of dementia. And they may get fixated on physical problems such as minor aches and pains will start to be a lot worse for them in their minds through the depression. So there's a great deal of work going on at the moment everywhere around the world on the link between depression and dementia, because obviously, if people are getting depression, we want to know what do we treat them with? How do we treat this? And what will be the consequence for their risk on dementia?
Okay, that's interesting. Mike, do you have anything to add there? Okay, he's shaking his head at me, everybody. I think it's interesting that the link between depression, Hazel, I certainly didn't know that. So I guess perhaps one question from maybe pharmacists have asked or are asking or want us to ask in this podcast, are antidepressants useful for someone with dementia in that case?
we do know that we have to treat depression. So whether they're treated with medication or with psychotherapy in some way,
Yep.
we know that treating the depression goes to lower the risk of them developing dementia. So something has to be done. But there's very contrasting studies being done about antidepressants in the use of, for depression and dementia. So one study regarding citalopram says this is actually really quite favourable for dementia because it reduces the build-up of the amyloid clumps. Well, amyloid and tau are the two proteins associated with Alzheimer's. So if we're helping to reduce the build-up of amyloid, that means it could effectively be slowing down the progression of those early symptoms with somebody. So that sounds really favourable.
Yes.
However, on the other
there's always a however.
Yes, there is always an yes, always have quite negative results, and that tends to be when they're anticholinergics. I always get this wrong. Anticholinergics.
Oh, glad you said that and not me.
I've practiced all morning on that.
Well done.
So it's been suggested that that antidepressants with this in actually can increase the risk of dementia because anticholinergic drugs actually block the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. And acetylcholine is vital for memory and cognitive function. So if the antidepressant is blocking that neurotransmitter, then obviously cognitive function and memory are going to be affected greatly. And these studies showed a 19% increased risk of dementia using those particular drugs. And that's just been backed up by a study from Nottingham University in May. So I think that, I think we'd say that. But it doesn't end there, the bad news. Where antidepressants, the SSRIs, are used, it actually shows faster cognitive decline over time. And the higher the dose, the increased risk of severe dementia coming into play. Aren't great for people with dementia.
Okay.
And then another study indicated that the increased duration of using, I wish it wasn't this one again, anticholinergic drugs, again, puts a higher risk of dementia. So if we're treating people with that in earlier life, then they're actually going to have a higher risk of getting dementia if it's at a sustained level. And it said taking the medication for 3 years or more.
Okay.
So not great news, I have to say, on the antidepressant front for that. The other thing to consider is that really it only works in about 50 to 60% of cases of people with depression in dementia. Most of them report, or half of them report, that it's actually not having an effect on them. That was a Danish study that came out.
Okay.
Yeah. There is a little bit of work done on the more psychotherapy side of treating people with depression and dementia. And it's shown that people who receive cognitive behavioural therapy are less likely to develop dementia.
Okay.
So I guess it's looking at maybe that might be an alternative way forward to prevent that risk of dementia. But we've got to weigh it with at least one way of, we have to treat somebody to try to lower the risk of them getting dementia.
Yes, absolutely. That's fascinating, Hazel. Absolutely fascinating. And I'm not going to say the whatever it is.
Yes.
But very interesting. I think then there's got to lead to the question, are there any other ways of managing depression and dementia?
Yes.
I'm sure you're going to have some other things. You just mentioned there.
Yes.
Yeah, psychotherapy and CBT. Yeah.
And in fact, some very simple ways as well that not only will help the depression, but will also help just generally with their health. And one of the most important things is that people are getting regular exercise. So people with dementia get regular exercise because we know that improves mood in people with depression with or without dementia.
Yes.
We recommend for brain health that it's 150 minutes per week, and that includes both strength and cardio because they each do something different to the brain. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that, the person with dementia's got to head out to the local gym and be there 5 times a week. Although I have to say, we're doing an awful lot of work training staff in leisure centres over the county.
Yes.
In dementia awareness to make sure that they can accommodate people coming in. It can be really just something as simple as going for a walk in nature,
Yes.
through the local park, by the river, up to the shops or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We know that fresh air is great. We know that nature is great. And that walk is both stimulating brain and body.
Yes.
And we try to advise people really to think about just their daily routines. By things such as parking your car at the far end of the car park in the supermarket.
Yeah, that's an
Getting
easy
off the
one,
bus
isn't
to
it?
stop
Yeah.
earlier. Keeping on with allowing people with dementia to keep on doing things like the housework and the gardening, because it's still keeping them busy and it's still a form of exercise in there.
Yes.
And if people haven't got mobility, then there's lots of chair-based exercise groups around the county. And a lot of the memory groups also incorporate a chair-based exercise session within their activities. So lots of ways for people to keep, to have some regular exercise, even though they might not think of it as exercise, it still is.
Yes.
I think that's probably in general, for somebody with dementia to keep active is again going to improve their mood.
Yes.
Because you can imagine if you get dementia and you suddenly feel that you can't do anything, all the things that meant something to you in the past when you had particular crafts and hobbies and interests, you're bound to get very low. Whereas if you can keep them going with support, that is going to keep the mood better. And it's very much the case that as the dementia progresses, it becomes progressively harder to maintain those activities. But carers can do a lot to support that. So, for example, if mum likes to bake a cake, she's loved doing it all her life. We want mum to keep baking cakes to keep her mental health.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, she might be able to do everything except work out what ingredients she's got in the house so that she can understand what cake she can make. And then in the mid stage, it might be she can't weigh the ingredients or put the oven on, but she can still do everything else. And in later stage, well, everybody in later stage can do a bit of mixing and pour the mix into the tin. So mum is still baking cakes throughout, but with a greater degree of support.
Yes.
And that helps mum with her mood. Eating well would be my next one. As you know, we all know that, foods rich in omega-3 are fabulous. The salmon, the nuts, the seeds, and so on. And anything high in magnesium we'd be recommending as well. The leafy greens, the sweet potatoes, and cutting out the sugar, which is very hard for somebody with dementia, unfortunately, because they tend to gravitate towards having a very sweet tooth. But sugar doesn't do any good. High ultra processed foods, etc., saturated fats again. And again, that's just great for general health.
Exactly. Yep.
And then the other one I think a lot of people aren't aware of is that the social interaction side of it for maintaining good mood.
Okay.
People with dementia can become very isolated. When the world becomes frightening, they don't want to go out. But we say the world becomes frightening, but for people who hear that a friend has dementia, that's also frightening for them, and they stop visiting. And that makes a person very isolated. And that lack of social interaction is not good for the brain. It can actually cause a decline and a progression of the dementia. And if the person's not seeing anybody, then obviously their mood is going to go downhill. So we advise that people go out and join all the social groups. And again, we have a whole heap of them around the county. And we maintain lists of all of them. Where they'll meet other people in the same situation and don't have to worry that maybe they got too overwhelmed within the first half hour and have to leave, or they turn up late because it's been a bit of a difficult time to get them out ready for the group. Nobody cares. It's about having that social interaction with each other.
Exactly.
There are other therapies like the cognitive behavioral therapy. There is also reminiscing therapy, which is really good for people with dementia because it allows them to tap into those remaining areas of memory. Somebody with dementia loses their memory from the most recent facts, that they go first, and then progressively their memory disappears down to their childhood. But a reminiscing therapy allows them to use what memory is still remaining there. So again,
Yes.
it's allowing social interaction on
Mm-hmm.
that, and
Mm-hmm.
the brain is active in recalling those memories there.
Yes.
Talking therapies are possible in the early stage of dementia. Unfortunately, as it moves through, it's not so good for people with dementia, but we often use it for their carers instead.
Yes.
And then something I didn't know about until a couple of weeks ago, I went to visit a hospice, and that's the use of complementary therapies with depression.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that people with depression who don't have dementia can often find those quite helpful. You know, the massage, the aromatherapy, the herbal type remedies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they are possible with dementia, but that's where our pharmacists would have to come into play because some of those interact with the medications
Yeah.
that are used for
Yeah.
dementia.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that, that could be some way that if somebody with dementia has come to get the medications, it could be some way that the pharmacist might want to say to them, "You're not doing any aromatherapy or taking other
Mm.
herbal remedies at the time, are you?"
Mm-hmm.
Because I hadn't realised the link between there. And then my last one on this huge list is ensuring that people have a sense of purpose.
Okay.
If you
Yeah.
remove somebody's sense of purpose, which is so valuable to us, then naturally their mood is going to sink because they start to feel of no value,
Mm.
worthless.
Mm.
They're not contributing anything
Yes.
to their family, to their home, to the society. And we've all been used to contributing something throughout our lives. And I think it's really important for people with dementia that they're allowed to, again, have some areas of responsibility that they
Mm-hmm.
can manage to bring back that sense of purpose for them. Whether it's looking after the dog, taking it out for a walk, feeding, and of course the carer very carefully checking that that is actually happening. I can't tell you how many houses I've been round and I've looked at the size of the dog and worried with it.
Yes.
Um, or it could be something like allowing them to do one particular area of the housework. Perhaps they're responsible for washing the pots after dinner every night.
Mm-hmm.
The carer might discreetly have to go and rewash them later on, after the person's gone to bed or whatever. That actually doesn't matter. But the
Yes.
fact that the person feels that's their job
Mm-hmm.
gives them that sense of responsibility. So
Yes.
sorry,
Renewing
you
that
probably
sense of
didn't expect
purpose.
such a huge answer to that, but I think there are lots and lots of things that people can do that don't involve medication, if you like, when they're very low in mood.
Yes. Yeah. No, they are all things to take into consideration, Hazel. And again, absolutely fascinating insight there. And certainly the keeping active, the healthy eating, I mean, they're great for lots of things, but clearly, obviously, for dementia and
Yes.
preventive depression, those kind of things you just talked about, which is great. Another expert is underlining that for us. So I think this leads us very nicely into how do you think, or how best can community pharmacy support the objectives of the Alzheimer's Society, Hazel? What role can we play? Because community
Absolutely.
pharmacists are more than happy to do this. We know from speaking with them. So your insight there would be invaluable to us, please.
Well, I think it's been a valuable exercise for me because
Mhm.
as I was thinking about doing this interview today, it suddenly dawned on me actually how important our pharmacists are
Yeah.
in this role because we have two things. Obviously, we'll want to support those that have already got dementia.
Yes.
But on the other hand, we also want to prevent people from getting dementia.
Mhm.
And a recent report by the Lancet said that 45% of dementias are preventable. And this is a new piece of work that has come out. And to me, that was quite shocking.
Wow,
45% of
45%
dementia.
could be
Yeah,
prevented.
yes. And I think, that's where we've got our pharmacists. Like, I think that people with dementia, they are much more likely to come into contact with a pharmacist
Yes.
than they are with their GP. GPs give an annual review of dementia. But unless the person has other health issues, there's very little a GP can do otherwise.
Mhm.
Whereas medication, it's very likely our person with dementia is not only picking up medication for dementia, but many of them are on other types of medication.
Yes.
So their contact will be with the pharmacist.
Mm-hmm.
And if the pharmacist notices that there might be a problem, has a feeling that something is not well with the person,
yes,
that's a perfect opportunity to get a referral into us. And when I say notices, it might be things such as the person turns up constantly looking for their prescription when perhaps it was only put in that morning.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're back again in the afternoon saying, where's my prescription? It's like, hang on a second.
Yes. Or it's not picked up because they've forgotten. They put actually the repeat in.
Yeah.
And so they don't come back for it. It can start to ring alarm bells, I'm hoping, with pharmacy staff that something is not right.
And they will notice those things, Hazel. Absolutely.
They will.
Yeah.
They will. They will. And actually, just talking with the staff in the pharmacy could be the only point of social contact for that person that they have. So again, there's a big role, I think, for pharmacists on that in detecting whether things are okay, not just, with their memory, but also are things okay at home as well.
Yes.
What we would like is that if somebody is a little worried about a patient coming in to collect their prescriptions or get additional medications or whatever, they can make a referral to us using our professional referral route.
Okay.
And that is really, really easy. So each pharmacy will, first time they put a referral in, will get a code. And that code can be shared among all the staff in the pharmacy. And then next time they put a referral in, instead of having to write up the details of their name, address, and telephone number, they put the code in and the whole form comes out with all the details on. And then the staff member just simply puts in the name of the person and what they might have seen, what's worrying them. Okay. And you leave it to us. It's then picked up by our triage people in Nottinghamshire, our team of dementia advisors, and they will make contact with the person. What I would say on that is, if it is an undiagnosed dementia, so it's just that the staff have got some worries about memory, just to write in memory only, so that we don't go heavy-handed in with, wonder if you've got dementia, because that'll certainly get the door closed on us. And when we'll take our badges off and we've pretended to be all sorts of things, but just to get in there to have a conversation and to see how we can support that person, everything's okay.
Okay.
Obviously, if anybody makes a referral, they must have consent.
Yes.
So, and that can be the difficult thing, where it is somebody who comes in with memory problems. When you say Alzheimer's, that might be the tricky bit of it, unfortunately, but we have to have consent for you to make that referral into us.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. I assume that would be the case. Yeah.
Yeah. To make a referral, all the staff need to do is to go onto our website. When you hit the homepage, you see up on the top right hand side, there is a button. It says professionals. Press that, takes you straight into referral. It's a one-page form. And as I say, after the first time, you get this code. The other things that we would like pharmacists to help with is our second message is about dementia awareness and reducing the stigma of dementia.
Yes.
And one of the ways that we're tackling it in the county is to get as many organisations as possible dementia aware. So we do a 1-hour session. We will come in and talk to staff about symptoms of dementia, what it is, emphasising it's not a mental health problem, it is a physical disease.
Yes.
And what they can do to help the person when they come in, and what they could do that actually might make things very difficult for that person with dementia, so that they feel more confident in having conversations and talking to people. This is all free, absolutely free. We will just come in. We often do it during team meetings, training sessions and things like that. And then the other thing is about this prevention of dementia. We know that certain diseases carry a much higher risk of dementia.
Yes.
And these will be people who will come for prescriptions. And it would be wonderful if we could get pharmacists to talk to these people about the fact that they are in that increased risk zone, if you like, and some of the things that they could do to start reducing that risk again. I
Reducing
mean,
the
we can't
risk, yeah.
take away diabetes,
Hmm.
and if they've got cardiovascular disease, they've got cardiovascular disease. There's not much we can do. Well, there is something on those. That's the healthy eating, all the rest of it again. But saying to them, are you aware that it carries a higher risk? And we've got some wonderful materials that we'd be very happy to send out to pharmacies.
Oh, brilliant, Hazel. I was going to ask you if you've got some resources. Brilliant. This is music to
Yes,
our ears.
absolutely. We can send them out to the pharmacies, and they could say, if you're interested, I've got a lovely little booklet on how to reduce your risk. And give them the 45% are preventable, which I think raises hope in all of us.
Absolutely.
And things like that. If somebody does want those, I suggest that they email me directly.
Okay.
And I'm hoping Mike might be able to share email,
Yes,
send out
we
my
will.
email.
Yeah, we'll definitely
Lovely.
do that, Hazel. Yeah, we'll share your details. Yeah.
Yeah. And if they want any of the other general ones, we have lovely books on caring for dementia. So again, people coming in, again, I can imagine that pharmacy staff will be chatting to customers coming in, and those customers will find somebody that's willing to listen and say, well, I'm exhausted. I've been up all night with my husband. He's just been wandering through the house every night. And that's a time for them to say, oh, we've got a lovely book for the Alzheimer's, and would you like some support from the Alzheimer's? And then again, you can get that referral coming into us.
Yeah. So it's not just patients themselves, it's their families and friends.
To be honest, it affects the family and friends far more than it does the person with dementia. Yeah. Many people with dementia are in denial anyway. And for most of them, they don't understand the impact their symptoms have on the people around them. Yes. So it tends to be it could be somebody popping in to get Dad's prescription saying, oh, I'm worried about Dad. Seems to be getting so much worse these days. And again, that's a time. Would you like us to contact the Alzheimer's Society for you and get a referral in, get a dementia advisor to come and talk to you? You've got you've got lots of opportunities in pharmacies. If people are thinking about getting publications, if they go onto our website again and they look under Get Support, there is a little section that says Publications and Fact Sheet. Go to the catalogue of publications and select what they'd like, and we will get those prepared and out to them.
Oh, that's super. Brilliant.
And again, all free of charge.
Brilliant. That's exactly what we wanted to hear, Hazel. It really is. Thank you so much. Extremely interesting, just fascinating. And the fact that we have this opportunity to take this holistic approach, to addressing this and hopefully preventing, hitting that, maybe increasing that number to preventing 75%. That would just be fabulous, wouldn't it? Preventing 100% would be better. But I think it's this collaborative working that will support that. And Mike, I'm going to hand over to you, because I know before when we were chatting, you wanted to talk about, and obviously Hazel has touched on this expertly in this podcast, about the link to antidepressants and the link to changes in the MNS. I've put my teeth in. NMS, to support patients with depression, so new medicine service. And obviously, pharmacists seeing those people who are maybe presenting with memory issues, or obviously, as Hazel has just talked about, their family and friends. So can I hand over to you, Mike, just to talk to us a little bit more about that, please?
Yes, of course, absolutely. And I think Hazel, first of all, thank you so much, Hazel, for your wisdom today, because I think, going back to what you were saying about pharmacists are really important. They are, because many patients do see their pharmacy as a lifeline, and they are the same patients who are coming in to pick their medications up or having it delivered. So we as pharmacists and our teams will be potentially the ones who could spot issues early, and therefore play a much bigger part in helping them to prevent Alzheimer's or dementia happening in the first place. So I think that's really important. And I think the second thing is this link, this really important link, where depression is being added to the new medicine service, which basically means that for everybody that comes in who's been prescribed antidepressants for the first time, pharmacists can have a conversation with them about their health, about their well-being, about how to take those medicines in the correct manner to get the biggest benefit. And in those conversations, things might come up where pharmacists might think, you know what, this patient does need a little bit more help. And being able to offer that help almost in a safety netting way, or certainly, as Kirsty said, a holistic way, I think is just a really brilliant way of taking care to a new level. And this is what our aim has been with these specialist podcasts, because we want to link up with as many other healthcare professionals as we can, so that we can always give that extra bit of care, and do just a bit more than just talking about the medicines themselves. So yes, so as I said, so the new medicine service that changes in October. Depression comes into the new medicine service from then. And I would encourage actually all of our pharmacists to undertake the CPPE training, the training course, which is linked to the pharmacy quality scheme, called Consulting with People with Mental Health Problems. It's a real eye-opener. It certainly gave me a brilliant insight into what people with depression want, how they want to be treated, and we can really occupy that space as pharmacy and really help them. I'm convinced of that. So thanks once again, Hazel. I thought that was brilliant. And it's great as well to see that there are many resources available to help pharmacists and to help patients further as well. So thanks once again for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hazel. Take care, and we'll definitely like to speak to you again sometime if we can in the near future. We'll be back.
I'd love to come back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thanks, Mike.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.